The Summer of Love occurred in San Francisco, California in 1967, transforming the San Francisco Bay Area into a popular tourist destination. It attracted curious and thrill-seeking individuals who wanted to witness the hippie phenomenon firsthand. The media portrayed it as the event of the year. On June 6th, Newsweek hit the newsstands with the headline, "The hippies are coming." The influx of hippies in the city soon became not only a media spectacle, but also a phenomenon akin to a religious pilgrimage. It is estimated that approximately 100,000 young people, drug dealers, tourists, journalists, the homeless, and the simply curious flocked to San Francisco to witness the scene. Before we continue with our story, a special shout-out to all the curious minds out there. If you're fascinated by the unconventional and extraordinary, you've come to the right place. Brain Outside the Box is all about uncovering the phenomenal and expanding our perception of the world. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. You won't want to miss the wonders we have in store. Now let's plunge back into our captivating journey through the past. However, those brave enough to explore beyond the Haight-Ashbury district may have encountered a completely different kind of spectacle. A pitch-black Victorian house that stood out starkly from the surrounding houses. This house served as the headquarters of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. LaVey used to hold satanic seminars and rituals in this ominous house, including one of the most notorious events, the satanic baptism of his daughter Zena Schreck in 1967. According to attendees, LaVey recited the words, "Hail Zena, Hail Satan," over the nude body of a woman acting as the satanic altar. It all began when Howard Stanton LaVey was born on April 11, 1930 in Chicago, Illinois. His parents, Michael LaVey and Gertrude Augusta, originally hailed from Georgia and Ukraine, and they relocated to Ohio in 1893. Shortly after Howard was born, the couple moved to San Francisco. In San Francisco, LaVey's father worked in real estate and sold auto parts, while his mother Gertrude took care of the household. LaVey's childhood was ordinary. In addition to showing an interest in playing the accordion, the organ, which he played in a Baptist church, and the oboe, which he played in the school band, he didn't engage in many other activities. When he was 16 years old, he realized that regular school wasn't right for him, so he decided to leave and join the circus. LaVey dropped out of Tamalpais High School in Mill Valley and ran away to join the Clyde Beatty Circus. Later, he worked for various carnivals, first as a roustabout and then as a musician playing the calliope. LaVey would later write that his experience working in carnivals and tent show revivals taught him more about human nature than anything else in his life. On Saturday night, I would see men lusting after half-naked girls dancing at the carnival, and on Sunday morning, I would see these same men sitting in the pews with their wives and children asking God to forgive them for their carnal desires. And the next Saturday night, they'd be back at the carnival or some other place of indulgence. I knew then that the Christian church thrives on hypocrisy, and that man's carnal nature will out. After LaVey died in 1997, people who had known him when he was young discovered that many of their beliefs about him were exaggerated or completely fabricated. While a lot of LaVey's life has been recorded, it seems that he also created some parts of it that are unknown. It is certain that around the age of 20, LaVey came back to San Francisco. He said he worked as a lion tamer with the circus, earned money as a professional organist in bars, lounges, and nightclubs, worked as a psychic, and even had a romantic relationship with Marilyn Monroe, among other wild claims. His self-aggrandizement caught the attention of 15-year-old Carol Lansing, whom he married the following year. In 1952, the couple welcomed their first child, Carla LaVey. To avoid being drafted into the Korean War, LaVey enrolled as a student at City College of San Francisco, where he studied criminology. However, there is no record of him completing his degree. Nevertheless, he claimed to have secured a job as a photographer for the San Francisco Police Department, where he alleged to have worked for 3 years. He also dabbled in being a psychic investigator, although there is no evidence to support the claim that LaVey ever worked for the SFPD. In 1960, LaVey divorced his wife, Carol. He quickly became involved with self-proclaimed sorceress Diane Hegarty. Although they never married, Hegarty remained his companion for 24 years and gave birth to LaVey's second daughter, Zena LaVey, in 1963. Hegarty would later co-found the Church of Satan with LaVey. Their daughter, Zena Galatea, would grow up in a world of rituals, magic and Satanism. In the early 1960s, LaVey developed an interest in the occult and began to cultivate a distinctive public image. He wore all black clothes and drove a hearse used by coroners in San Francisco. This caught people's attention and made him famous in the local area for his study of paranormal activities. During this time, LaVey and his wife Diane started formulating a new religion based on atheism, ancient occultism, and esotericism. Taking advantage of his growing fame, LaVey began hosting gatherings at his home, which attracted notable figures such as anthropologist Michael Harner, Chester Arthur III, the grandson of President Arthur, science fiction magazine editor Forrest Ackerman, horror sci-fi writer Fritz Lieber, and filmmaker Kenneth Anger. Over time, these gatherings evolved into weekly discussions on the occult and ritual. At this point, LaVey had amassed a sufficient following to establish a group known as the Order of the Trapezoid. During one of these meetings, it was mentioned that the group had effectively created a new religion. According to LaVey, on April 30th, 1966, during the eve of the Christian feast day of St. Walpurga, he shaved his head in a ceremonial manner like ancient executioners and announced the creation of the Church of Satan. He proclaimed 1966 as year one, the first year of the Age of Satan. Soon after, he changed his name to Anton LaVey and declared himself the High Priest of his newly formed church. It was later revealed that LaVey had actually shaved his head because he had lost a bet and had fabricated the explanation of ancient executioners years later. In an effort to make his new church and religion seem more legitimate, LaVey began performing religious ceremonies even though he didn't have any authority to do so. On February 1st, 1967, LaVey performed the satanic wedding of journalist John Raymond and New York socialite Judith Case. This event was reported by the LA Times and San Francisco Chronicle, both of which called LaVey the Black Pope. LaVey also performed satanic baptisms, including the first known satanic baptism in history for his 3-year-old daughter Zena, dedicating her to Satan and the left-hand path. These ceremonies gained worldwide publicity and were recorded and released as an LP titled The Satanic Mass. Additionally, LaVey conducted satanic funerals, including one for naval machinist repairman, 3rd Class Edward Olson, complete with a chrome-helmeted honor guard. With his adept public relations skills, LaVey achieved the attention and religious legitimacy he desired. In 1969, LaVey published the Satanic Bible, a collection of rituals, essays, and commentary. It is considered the foundation of LaVeyan satanic philosophy and serves as the primary text of LaVeyan Satanism. Although not considered sacred scripture like the Christian Bible, it is highly regarded and granted scriptural status by LaVeyan Satanists. LaVeyan Satanists identify as atheistic Satanists and view God and Satan as projections of an individual's personality. The Satanic Bible promotes self-exploration and finding one's inner Satan. The book is divided into 4 sections: Fire, the Book of Satan; Air, the Book of Lucifer; Earth, the Book of Belial; and Water, the Book of Leviathan. Additionally, the well-known 9 satanic statements express the core beliefs of LaVeyan Satanism. In the early 1970s, LaVey began incorporating other philosophical influences into the ideology and ritual practices of the Church of Satan. This included the ideas of German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and the principles of social Darwinism, which explored the biological relationship between natural selection and survival of the fittest. LaVey also wrote essays that present edited sections from Ragnar Redbeard's Might is Right. This text promotes amorality, consequentialism, and psychological hedonism. Additionally, he satanized versions of 17th century alchemist John Dee's Enochian keys, an occult-constructed language believed to have originated with angels. These developments resulted in 2 new books that had a significant impact on LaVeyan Satanism, The Complete Witch and the Satanic Rituals. Interestingly, the latter book includes rituals derived from the work of fiction writer H.P. Lovecraft. However, some members of the Church of Satan were dissatisfied with the doctrinal changes implemented by LaVey. In June of 1975, Michael Aquino, the editor of the church's newsletter, resigned as one of the governors of the organization. Aquino went on to establish his own theistic group called the Temple of Set, and he convinced a number of loyal dissenters to join him. In 1980, the FBI interviewed LaVey regarding his alleged connection to a plot to murder Senator Edward Ted Kennedy. During the interview, LaVey referred to most of his church's followers as fanatics, cultists, and weirdos. The agents reported that LaVey's involvement with the Church of Satan was primarily driven by financial motives. In July 1984, Diane Hegarty obtained a restraining order against LaVey, although the specific reason for it remains unknown. In the fall of 1984, LaVey entered into his final relationship with 23-year-old Blanche Barton. On November 1, 1993, Barton gave birth to a son named Satan LaVey. On November 7, 1997, Carla LaVey held a press conference to announce the death of her father, Anton LaVey. He passed away on October 29 at St. Mary's Medical Center in San Francisco due to pulmonary edema, although his death certificate lists October 31, 1997 as the date of death. After LaVey's body was cremated, a private satanic funeral by invitation only took place in Colma, a small town in San Mateo County, California, according to a family member. In late November of the same year, the church announced that it would now be led by two high priestesses of equal rank. These individuals were Blanche Barton and LaVey's daughter Carla LaVey. Officially, Barton succeeded LaVey as the head of the church. However, in 2002, she passed on that role to writer and church member Peter H. Gilmore. On February 2, 1998, Zena Schreck and her husband Nicholas, who is LaVey's daughter, decided to set the record straight. They released a 9-page document pointing out parts of LaVey's life story that, according to them, were just not true. The Satanic Bible, first published in 1969 as a paperback, has been printed 30 times since. In 2015, it got a new hardcover edition, which also included another book by LaVey, The Satanic Rituals. All of this was made possible by a special deal with Rabbit Crow Arts and Graphics. Up until now, over 1 million copies of the original book have been sold. Besides the Satanic Bible, LaVey wrote several other books, including The Satanic Rituals in 1972, The Satanic Witch in 1989, and The Devil's Notebook in 1992. Some of his works were also published after he passed away, like Satan Speaks and Letters from the Devil. Fast forward to today, there are many groups out there practicing LaVeyan Satanism, with as many as 20,000 people involved. But officially, the Church of Satan as it was originally known doesn't exist anymore. And these are just some interesting facts about Howard's exotic journey from the exciting Summer of Love to the mysterious world of Anton LaVey. It's a story that shows us how crazy and unpredictable the 60s were. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, you're in the right place. At Brain Outside the Box, we love exploring history's most captivating stories. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our weekly videos. Thanks for watching and always stay open-minded.